Cool. So my talk is on the number one way to connect with children and why it's important. So I'm super excited for it. So let's dive in. Go ahead. Oh, I have this. Let's see if I can do this. Cool. So before I dive in, there are 4 questions I need to answer for you. Things you might be thinking in your head. Who is this guy anyway? Well, let me answer that. My name is Gering. I am the children's director here at Convergence House of Prayer. So I'm one of the few speakers today that actually have home court advantage. So that's nice. I've been in this room before, so that's fun. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest. My dad was a pastor. My mom was a teacher. I've been a Christian pretty much my entire life. I moved to the Bay Area for college, and that's where I met my awesome wife, Caitlin. She's in back if you want to embarrass her and look at her and smile. We're both on staff here at the church, and this is my favorite church in the world. So I'm super blessed to be a part of it. Second question you might be thinking to yourself is, what is this dude passionate about? Well, I am passionate about a lot of things. I love making people laugh. I love music, being creative. I love making little fun movies, things like that. But the thing I'm most passionate about, and part of my talk today, is I'm passionate about the next generation and setting up this next generation for success. So that's something I'm passionate about. And another question you might be thinking to yourself, does this guy even know what he's talking about? He does. My topic is about working with kids. The short answer is yes, but I'm going to explain a little bit why. My topic is about working with kids, and I have worked with kids a lot. I'm still pretty young. I'm only 25 years old, but I have worked with kids of different races, different backgrounds, different places in this nation, and I have, in different roles too. So whether it's camp counselor, being a children's pastor, I worked at Chuck E. Cheese's. I've just been around kids a lot. Also, growing up, once I was too old for kids' church, I was helping in kids' church. So I've been around kids a lot. So I declare that I know what I'm talking about, okay? Second, does he know everything? No, I don't know everything. So this is not an exhaustive talk. I am not claiming to give you my title is The Number One Way to Connect with Children. That was more kind of a headline to get you guys to come here. I'm not pretending to know everything. Maybe my number one way is really the number 2 way. I don't know. But this is all based out of my passion and my experiences. Does that make sense? Perfect. Remote, I've never used before. All right, so I'm saying relearn with me. I want you guys to relearn some things with me because this is a weird talk that I feel like all of us maybe have known this information in the past. But once you become an adult, you kind of forget how kids work a little bit. So I'm going to ask you guys to go through this process of relearning with me. Does that sound good? Perfect. So 3 things we're going to relearn. First, of course, the name of my talk, the number 1 way to connect with kids. 2, the reasons why it's important. And then 3, I'm going to give you a bunch of examples of how to do it. That's kind of the funnest part. So, awesome. Okay, number 1 way to connect with children. I found that picture and I thought it was funny, so I put it up there. The number 1 way to connect with children. So like I said earlier, I have worked with kids of all different types. I've worked with inner city children who live in at-risk homes, at-risk neighborhoods, that type of thing. I've worked with Silicon Valley kids who go to private school. I've worked with the rural kids. I've worked with a lot of different kind of kids. And I can confidently say that they all have a universal language, and they all want the same thing. It's fun. Everybody say fun. All right. So if you want to connect with a kid, you have to have fun with the kid. I know it's super easy. Some of you are like, oh yeah, I sort of knew that. I was a kid once. Well, it's true though. All right. Everybody say it again. Say fun. All right. So if you have fun with a kid, you all of a sudden, what it does when you have authentic fun and you slow down and take the time to have fun, then the kid builds relationship with you, and you have the ability to influence them and connect with them. And if you influence kids, you have the ability to influence the world, because kids are a big deal. All right? It's kind of my second point when I'm talking about why. All right? So, it's kind of a fun remote. Essentially, when you think about it this way, the 10-year-olds of today in 20 years will be 30 years old. right? So if you have the ability, all right, you can do, I thought about going through all these type of math problems that I could, but I'm not going to. But if you have the ability to influence a child, you are literally building the future. Does that make sense? And I know all of us in here, because we're at this event, whether you're a speaker or just somebody who wanted to come and learn and experience this, we all have ideas worth sharing. And we all have valuable things on the inside of us that's worth giving to the next generation. Because we don't want that stuff to die with us, right? Nod your heads. Right, okay? So kids are a big deal. So even if you are a nuclear physicist who doesn't have kids, but maybe has a niece or whatever, like, even if you have no reason to go out of your way to talk to kids, it might be an important thing to do, because that's how you live on, because all of us are going to die someday, right? But this next generation is our tomorrow. The politicians of tomorrow, you know, tomorrow's actors, tomorrow's computer programmers, the Silicon Valley of tomorrow are in elementary schools right here, right now. Does that make sense? So kids are a very, very big deal. So I want to give you a little bit of examples here and a little bit of proof to what I'm talking about. Is when you have fun with kids, they give you permission to speak into their lives. So one very practical example is there's this girl who's been going to our church for a long time, but she wasn't ever in my classroom. I primarily work in the elementary aged classroom. So she had just turned first grade, so it was now time for her to get out of the preschool and into my classroom. So that was going to be fun. Here's the problem. She did not want to come to my classroom. So pretend like this is the door of the classroom. She'd be all like, you know, it's time to drop off the kid, like super nervous, stepping inside, running out, that type of thing. And that happened for probably 2 or 3 weeks where she would not come in. So she would end up just sitting bored in church, which there's nothing wrong with kids sitting in church, but she's not the type of kid who would really pay attention in that. And she really needed an age group type of classroom. And I'm just gonna say the Lord did this because it was just so random. I had the ability in the lobby after church one Sunday. We were talking to, I think it was me and Caitlin maybe, or someone else. We were talking to that kid's grandma, and I started talking to the kid, and I started talking to her and her brother, and somehow, I don't know how it happened, it just flows out of me, I guess. Our conversation morphed into a game, which morphed into us chasing each other around, and then them taking me to prison, and then me breaking out, and then running, and obviously you can't run full speed or they'll never catch you, right? So this is my fast run when I'm with kids. This is my fast run. Right. And then that way they can actually catch me. But no, they catch me, put the fake handcuffs back on me, take me back to jail, I'm free, that type of thing. So that's always a fun game. I'll give you that for free. You guys can use that one. But it just happened randomly, right? And the funniest thing happened the very next Sunday. She came to class. No arguments, she still doesn't talk to me very much. She's not a talker. But she started coming to class. And it was like I earned street cred in kid world, okay? That's kind of what fun is. It's street cred in kid world, okay? That's the universal language for children, and when you are able to do that, they give you permission to influence them and speak into their lives. Another example I have of this is before becoming children's director here, I was a children's pastor in Oakland at the Bible college I went to. And we had this children's ministry where we took kids and basically gave church to kids who don't go to church. And it was a Saturday morning program. We'd feed them breakfast, do games with them, and then do a kids' church. And during the week, though, is when we really got to build relationships, and we called it like home visitations. We'd go and visit them on either a Wednesday or Thursday. And a lot of these kids in at-risk backgrounds have a tough exterior, and they do not want to let you in. And it doesn't matter what adult is telling them to, even things as simple as don't fight each other. It doesn't matter because it just kind of rolls off them, right? But when we build relationships and I would play games with them, there's this one kid, I had this inside joke. He was pretty big. He was like 12 years old, but one of those kids that kind of hit his growth spurt too soon. So he was like almost the same height as me. And we had this weird inside joke game thing where he would all of a sudden say, Scooby-Doo. And I knew that he was going to pretend to be Scooby-Doo. And I had to pretend to be Shaggy. And he was going to jump into my arms like this. He was going to jump in and then start acting like Scooby-Doo. And I'd have to do my really bad Shaggy impression. I don't have a good Shaggy impression. But I would do my bad Shaggy impression, be like, oh, Scooby, you know, that type of thing. And that was kind of our weird inside joke. Sometimes we play basketball, catch up on their lives. But in that, when you connect and play, those barriers are gone. And then you have the ability to influence. So this is also the same kid who had really bad anger issues. And he was the type of kid who would fly off the handle, and even over little things, right? And it was probably, you know, there's a lot of issues with that I'm not going to get into with his background of kind of why that was. But, you know, we're a Christian organization. So we're like, Jesus doesn't want you to do that. And, you know, so for a while it was even before I had gone back to that ministry, there was some stories of him like freaking out and cussing out little kids and getting violent with some other people. But like he let me and the other pastors in, and we talked to him and mentor him. And I watched him hold back things that would fly him off the handle before. Like we were able to trust him to go on a leadership camp with us. And there were kids, like he would fly off the handle if somebody accidentally picked on him. You know, they say something and he can interpret things as bad or whatever. There are people trying to get on his case, and I watched him like not do it. And that's just like, that was Jesus changing him, right? But he allowed us to influence him, and he allowed us in because he could trust us. And I make the case that the reason he knew he could trust us is because we spent time, we slowed down, and we had fun. Everybody say fun. Guys, it's really, really important. I've seen it time and time again. Like, if a kid's bored, like, you know, play freeze tag. Like, run around with them. Like, there's this one kid. He's funny. I don't know why this happened, but I could tell he was bored, and I was sort of bored too. It was one of those things like standing at church and we didn't know what to do. And I kind of made eye contact with him across the room, and I slowly pretended to take out a bow and arrow. And I just waited for him to look at me, and he saw me as I was taking out the bow and arrow, but at first he thought I was just waving my hands weirdly, then he realized what was going on. And then, you know, I don't know, you're not supposed to be violent with kids, but when you pretend to be violent with kids, all of a sudden they light up like it's the best thing ever. So then, you know, I shoot the arrow, and he, you know, does the flinch thing, and then he gets his gun out, and then all of a sudden we're playing, and I think this was at church, and it's great, because adults feel free. I don't know, when you're in the church lobby, adults are like, these kids running around, but when it's the kids pastor, like, ducking behind, like if the lobby we're just in for, you know, food with muffins and stuff, there's been a few times where I'm like, they can't tell me to stop running around because I'm an adult. But I'd be like, you know, like, you know, let me think, you know, chasing around. It's not fun when it's just me, but, you know, but like, that is actually a form of ministry. It's not just people being weird, but it's a form of ministry. And when we do that, when we influence kids and get to them on their level, that's when we have the ability to influence the future. There it is. Fun clicker. Yeah, so summary. Connecting with kids is simple. Have fun. We can impact the world, and just fun is underrated, or as I like to say, it's funderated. Okay, ever say funderated? Fun is underrated. And so that's my talk. So you can connect with me. My email is aaron@convergencehop.org. My IG handle is @mraaron_CEC. That's also my Twitter handle, but I don't really tweet anymore, so you probably wouldn't get a response. Just saying. Also, I didn't put it on here because it happened so like last minute, but Fleep, I'm also on Fleep, the Fleep network you've been hearing about. I'm just Aaron Gering, all one word, all lowercase. So that's what we got. So I think it's Q&A time, correct? Cool.
We Mass Media, media empowering community.